Of the Holy Cross Institute webinar series, in which we continue to celebrate the 200th anniversary of the Brothers of St. Joseph, who, of course, as we know, have become today, as we know them, as the Brothers of Holy Cross. As you're coming on board, we invite you again to use the chat feature in our Zoom webinar and let us know who you are, where you're from. We have over 155 registrants for today's webinar, and once again, from all over the world. It's just so gratifying to have you with us. So as I see our participant number climbing, 56, 57, we'll have many more. Let us know who you are, and we're excited and honored that you've joined us tonight. We're going to give it just a few minutes to allow people to get on board. And gosh, look at this. We have folks from all over, from King's College, from San Antonio, from right here in Austin, Texas. Brother John Page, we welcome you. We have our members of our campus ministry team from St. Edward's University that are here. I see the president from Holy Cross High School in Flushing, New York. Welcome, Mike Truesdell. So many others, it's even hard to keep up with. Father O'Hara, thank you so much joining us from King's College. And delighted again, Dr. Fuentes, the new president-elect, starts July 1st as the president at St. Edward's University. We're honored, Dr. Fuentes, to have you with us. Thank you. Jack from Flushing is with us. Christina here in Austin at St. Edward's, thank you. Marion, Connecticut, Peru. Hello from Notre Dame, West Haven. Brother Bill Zadak at Holy Cross College in Notre Dame, Indiana. Thank you, Brother Bill, for being with us. Sister, you'll be delighted. Heather Gossert has joined us. Heather's on the Board of Governors for the Holy Cross Institute, as you well know, and she's dialing from her home in Delaware. Thank you, Heather. Sister Judy is on. She's going to be critiquing you at the end of the night, I think. Notre Dame Niles, Ralph Elwert, thank you. Ed O'Connell in Connecticut. Dr. George Martin, thank you, Dr. Martin, for all the support, the vision that you had for the Holy Cross Institute and for continuing to support what we do. We have Marianites, Sisters Gretchen and Rochelle that are with us. We have the facilitator, the facilitation team from our strategic planning process for the Institute, Daniel Guerrero, and Nicole McGee and Alan Baker are on. Sister Elaine from Merrimack, New Hampshire. How exciting. Well, good. This number is continuing to climb, and gosh, it's a couple of minutes after the hour, and so without further ado, I would love for us to get started. So once again, welcome everybody to this month's continuation of the webinar series as we celebrate the 200th anniversary of the Brothers of St. Joseph, that we now know today as the Brothers of Holy Cross. My name is Marco Clark, and I am the Executive Director of the Holy Cross Institute at St. Edward's University. I want to just take a moment to thank the team that makes these happen every month, the building up in the weeks and months as we prepare, and then, of course, the production tonight and then the follow-up afterwards, and that's the team here at St. Edward's University. And first off, Joe DiMaderos, the Vice President for University Advancement at St. Edward's, Denise Rocha, Sarah Dickens, and Karen Dix from the University Advancement Office, Kel Bergantz from the Events and Conference Office, and of course, my partner in the Holy Cross Institute office, Laura Sanders. I also want to thank our Board of Governors, our Provost, Dr. Andrew Prawl, and especially our President, Dr. George Martin, whose vision it was to create the Holy Cross Institute in 2004. We're going to begin tonight with a prayer in this anniversary year. Not only is it an anniversary year for the Brothers of St. Joseph, but of course, recently the Pope declared this the year dedicated to St. Joseph. And so if you would, please, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Hail, guardian of the Redeemer, spouse of the Blessed Virgin Mary. To you, God entrusted his only Son. In you, Mary placed her trust. With you, Christ became man. Blessed Joseph, to us too, show yourself a father and guide us in the path of life. Obtain for us grace, mercy, and courage, and defend us from every evil. And we make this prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. And as you see the quote at the bottom there from St. Brother Andre Bessette, go to Joseph. I'm delighted that we hope in the coming months we'll be able to hear from Father Michael Delaney, who is at the St. Joseph Oratory in Montreal, Quebec, the church that St. Andre had the vision for and built. And he will share with us more about the continued mission and ministry at the St. Joseph Oratory, and that'll be coming up in the future months. But we also want to take a moment to thank our sponsor for this event. You know, throughout the year, the Wye River Independent Financial Advisors Group have been our sponsors to be able to put on this each month. Wye River provides just a great service to many of our schools and universities and advice and counsel, planning and funding for especially major capital projects for schools. And as well as a reminder, there are opportunities to sponsor the events of the Holy Cross Institute. All of the offerings that we provide for our schools community and for the leaders and the support, the resources, the education, the planning that we provide, we do all of that as a free service. And we can only do so through the generosity of sponsors and donors like you. So my contact information is there at the bottom. If you know of somebody at the corporate level, foundation level that would like to sponsor us, please direct them to me. If anybody would like to make an individual or personal donation to the Institute, you can do so on our website. Next slide there, Denise, please. And, you know, as we've gone through the last 5 months, and now this is the 6th installment of our webinar series, we've studied the history and the foundations, the early beginnings from 1820 with the Brothers of St. Joseph, and progressed all the way through what it is that the Congregation of Holy Cross does today in the 18 nations, where there's 128 colleges and schools and universities, parish work, social service work that's happening in these 18 countries around the world. But if you pay particular attention right there to 1844, 1844 was the year in which vows were received. The vows were received for Leocadie Gascon, who went to be known as Mother Mary of the Seven Dolours, co-founder and superior, named superior of what we now know today as the Marianite Sisters of Holy Cross. And in a moment, you're going to hear from today's congregational leader for the Marianite Sisters. So Leocadie Gascon and 3 other Marianite sisters made their vows in 1844. So we're going to start from there, and we're going to hear more in just a moment from Sister Ann about the continued work and ministry of the Marianites. Just as a reminder about Zoom, we're going to use the chat feature for any questions that you may have. So we invite you to drop your questions into the chat, and we'll save about 10 minutes at the end of tonight's production for those questions. If you run into any technical difficulties, you can, again, drop a question there, let us know through the chat feature, or you can send an email to the Holy Cross Institute website, HCI@Stewards, STEWARDS.edu. And as well, just as a reminder, we are recording tonight's presentation. And then the last rule is to enjoy this recording. Really is my pleasure, and cannot begin to thank you enough, Sister, for joining us. To introduce you to Sister Ann Lacour, who is the Congregational Leader for the Marianite Sisters of Holy Cross. Sister has been just such a wonderful friend personally to me, since we met in 2007, when I had the extraordinary privilege of being able to attend the international session in Le Mans, which I know Sister will share a little bit more with us about tonight. And so, Sister, without further ado, I want to turn this program over to you, because I know that you have so much wonderful information to share with us. And I would also note for our viewers today that this is going to be a little bit more of a Q&A style. And Sister and I have a couple of questions that I'm going to start us off with. And so with that, and I have them printed here somewhere, Sister, we welcome you. We'd love for you to tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Good evening, everyone, or good afternoon to those of you who are west of us. I'm speaking to you from Louisiana today, actually very near our Congregational Center in Covington, Louisiana. Not far from Louisiana. I am speaking English, but it does come with that Louisiana dialect. So bear with me. We're going to take a journey from 1841 to present day, and it's wonderful to be with you this afternoon.
Thank you, Sister. And again, very delighted to have you with us. So I wonder, speaking of 1841, if you could just speak to the beginnings of Holy Cross, tell us the story of how Father Moreau met Leocadie Gascon and those early beginnings.
hopefully you all see the original insignia. Actually, it was Father Moreau's dream, fired by that of what Father Dujarrier had spoken to Father Moreau about. Father Moreau's dream was always to have priests, brothers, and sisters as one family. He actually invited a group of women to begin working with him, but in those early days in 1837, did not see anyone that he felt could collaborate with him in moving the family forward. On June 23rd in 1841, he met Léocadie Gascoigne's father and herself in Le Mans, France. She was coming to make a retreat. She made that retreat in Le Mans with the Sisters of the Good Shepherd. She made an 8-day retreat. And on July 2nd, Father Moreau met with her after meeting with the person who had done the retreat and said to Léocadie, "You are for Holy Cross." And with that, the story began. That was July 1841. From 1841 to 1844, still in formation along with 3 other young women, she began preparing with Father Moreau to send priests, brothers, and sisters to the United States and around the world. She still herself was not professed. And one of the things in her writing was, why is he waiting? What does he want from me? I think Father Moreau saw in Léocadie the desire, the vision, the courage, and the trust that each of us needs when we begin a journey of a lifetime. And so in forming them, he waited until 1844 for them to make vows, for her to become Sister Mary of the Seven Dolours, along with Sister Calvary, Sister Mary of the Holy Cross, and Sister Mary of Compassion. That gives you a little insight into what Father Moreau was thinking as he and Mother Mary, along with the brothers, were creating what we know today as the family of Holy Cross. I would say today, Father Moreau was thinking, nothing worthwhile happens overnight. He was willing to wait for Léocadie. She was willing to wait for when the time was right for vows. But together, they created a family that lives on today.
Sister, just remarkable trust in divine providence that we know is so core to the spirituality of Father Moreau. And of course, we see that reflected today. But I wonder if you might take a moment. We did have a question up here in the chat that I think it's worth addressing now. With the Congregational Seal in front of us, is there any particular symbolism, or maybe you can point to the symbolism of this particular Congregational Seal?
You see at the top, the 3 hearts. They're the hearts of Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. It was one of the reasons why the seal did not remain the original seal, because the heart of Joseph is not considered something that we pray to or were praying to at that time. And so the seal was rejected by Rome. One of the things that I wanted to say to you is that I believe for both Father Moreau and Mother Mary, no is not the end. Many things that they wanted to see happened, they were told no, but it didn't prevent them from moving on. So the original seal was, the JMJ, of course, is Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. The anchor, which is still very much part of who Holy Cross is today, is that grounding in our faith. But it was those three hearts that did not allow the original symbol to move forward. You see those three hearts throughout France, because in 19th century France, the three hearts were definitely a veneration.
Really fascinating. Thank you. And, you know, so Father Moreau and Mother Mary clearly had a trusted relationship. They were partners in an adventure that we know continues today. And so I wonder, you know, if you could say, what do they say to us today? What is their partnership? What does that adventure say to us today?
I have three pictures on the slide up there. So often, as we present the slide of Father Moreau, people go, oh my God, he was so gruff. He actually didn't want to have his picture taken. And that's why we are told that stern look. People who do research say he actually had a very fine sense of humor. Mother Mary of the Seven Dolours, unlike Father Moreau, was from a middle class experience. She grew up in the section of France known as the Mayenne. She actually lived in the little town of Montenay, and the house where she grew up, the house where she was born, is in the middle of that slide. I think one of the things that Father Moreau and Mother Mary would say to each of us today is find the right people for the job that you want to get done. Be willing to wait. Look for the gifts that suit the needs that we are about to. They would also say to us, never be discouraged. And both in Father Moreau's life, as well as in Mother Mary's life, there could have been tons of discouragement. If you really take time to look at their writings, there is little discouragement and always this joy, always looking to the future with hope, with faith, and with trust. I think the other thing Father Moreau and Mother Mary would say to us today is take time for prayer. Each of them were situated in prayer. We see when we do research, the time that they spent praying. And so they would invite us to do that same. For both of them, both Father Moreau and Mother Mary, at early ages, they knew the sting of death. And so it is incredible to me that they said yes to the seven dolours, but they saw the seven dolours as an invitation to each of us to embrace the Paschal Mystery. We go from death into life time and time again. And I think both of them are saying that today, especially in our world today, to embrace the Paschal Mystery, the words that we use so often in Holy Cross, to be about the resurrection.
Mm-hmm. You're exactly right, and so poignant a message today in certainly a country, a world that has met with such discouragement, and we see dissent and death, certainly, and illness. Really, such powerful examples of hope, of that message of hope. And Sister, while we have this picture up as well, a question came forward about the habit. Yes. Pretty distinctive habit compared to other religious orders. Is there symbolism behind the habit?
It is actually very similar to what the women in France were wearing at that day. The things that, of course, were symbolic to the habit is the silver heart. And I brought a silver heart with me today. It was given to the sisters then at the time they made first vows. Along with the $7 beads. The $7 beads are different from the rosary in that it is the $7 of the Blessed Mary. And then the cord at her side was actually a blue cord. And most of the congregations, the three women's congregations, wore that habit until the mid-60s. And so those of us who entered after 1964, at least for the Marianites, would not have worn it, but it was traditionally the garb of French women.
Terrific. Thank you for that. And, you know, it's a great segue. You mentioned the three women's groups. So maybe you could share with us a little bit more about the history, how we became, how this branched off to three women's groups, and even speak about the collaboration today with the four congregational leaders in the family of Holy Cross.
Certainly. As I said earlier, Father Morrow and Mother Mary were faith-filled people who were always about sending people around the world. In 1844, we were already in America. We were already looking at Canada as our next spot to be. Today, when we don't answer an email in 15 minutes, people say, I'm waiting for an answer. In 1844 and through the 50s, distance is probably the first reason for our becoming three distinct congregations. We were in South Bend, we were in Louisiana, we were in Canada, but all permissions were coming from France. In all three locations, there was a desire to grow. Young women were coming, and there again, permissions were needed. I would say language, besides distance, was the biggest thing. In South Bend and even in Louisiana, we were English, we were becoming totally English speakers. In Canada, not so much the problem, but even there, the language a little bit different. And then finally, life experience. Life in South Bend was different than life in Louisiana, and life in Louisiana was different than life in Canada. And finally, permissions were coming from France. I would say very humbly, the other thing is that in all three locations, there were men pressing the Marianites to become separate entities. It would be so much easier. Time in for South Bend, for the Surin in 1869 had pushed and pushed and pushed. It was difficult for both Father Morrow and Mother Mary when they visited South Bend, because people there were speaking English. They had a limited understanding of English and found that very difficult. Same is true in Canada. While they were speaking French, there was also the English component. And so when the break in 1869 in South Bend was difficult, but expected. The heartbreak for Mother Mary was the break in 1883, when the Canadian Sisters became a branch on their own, or their own separate congregation. Mother Mary had been sent by Father Morrow to spend 2 days in Canada to organize everything. She, in fact, spent 14 years. And those 14 years removed from France were difficult for her, difficult for the congregation in France. Why did Louisiana remain loyal to France? Was, first of all, most of the original sisters who came from France ended up in Louisiana, because Louisiana was still a French-speaking territory. So many of them were bilingual for many, many years. When we really, again, do the research, the language was the biggest thing. Today, well, let me just stop there to say, in 1946, Mother Mary had been dead 46 years. A French woman who was then the Superior General, Mother Odile, it had always been in her heart that the three women's congregations in somehow should unite. And Mother Odile invited the General of the Sisters of the Holy Cross and the General of the Sisters of Holy Cross to a meeting in France. They came, and I would say since before, but clearly in 1946, the three women's congregations, or three congregations, but one heart. And we see that time and time again in who we are and what we do. I intentionally did not put the names of the women who gathered in 1946 because it was not the four women who gathered, but the women through the ages who make the women of Holy Cross who we are today. We stand on their shoulders. The picture on the left is actually the picture of Mother Mary of the Seven Dolours' 50th Jubilee, 1891, 9 years before her death. She had been Superior General on and off from 1844 till almost the time of her death. She gave herself untiringly to the women of Holy Cross. Today, not only do we gather as the women of Holy Cross, but the family of Holy Cross, I believe, comes together because we are priests, brothers, and sisters who believe in the power of the family. The Superior Generals, up until COVID, met every other year. We were supposed to spend June in Le Mans, and actually in October, our intention was to have the extended members of each of our congregation, our leadership teams, to gather in France. We would have been 57 members of the family of Holy Cross to not only celebrate the 200th anniversary, but to look at the future of Holy Cross in Le Mans. So we do lots together, we do lots apart, but our heart beats as one.
Thank you, Sister. And, you know, it's such a story, an inspirational story, and a story of courage, vulnerability, the strength and vulnerability. And I really appreciate you talking about how today this single heart of Holy Cross continues to communicate and operate with one another. And that's been one of the big goals that we've had with the Holy Cross Institute as well, is that as a family of Holy Cross, we have the ability to share resources as a community of practice to support one another in this shared heritage, this shared mission, continuation of the work that we do. And so there's the Sisters of Holy Cross that you spoke of in Canada, the Sisters of the Holy Cross, who today run St. Mary's College in South Bend, Academy of the Holy Cross in Kensington, Maryland, two extraordinary schools. And then, of course, the Marianite Sisters of Holy Cross, who sponsor the University of Holy Cross in New Orleans, which hopefully before the end of tonight's session, you'll be able to share a little bit more about the university with us as well. But let me ask you, sisters, so spending some time on the website for the Marianites, it indicates that the common focus of the Marianites around the world is to confront exclusion in all of its forms. And I particularly was drawn to that phrase, confront exclusion in all of its forms. So share with us why this focus is important and how the Marianites live the call today.
The slide to me says just a tiny bit of how we have faced exclusion through the years. For those of you who have had the privilege of being part of the international session and visited Pré Signé, to the very left of the slide is some of the old buildings, which we knew as Pré-Signé. Today, Basil-Moreau Medical Center in the village of Pré-Signé, about 50 miles south of Le Mans, is a medical center that deals with gerontology problems, both physical and mental. And that facility grew out of what was the old buildings in Pré-Signé, which was the seminary where Father Moreau attended the seminary. From there, it became the preventorium, where our sisters took care of people with numerous physical and mental problems. It then morphed into a hospital in the South region of France, where we continue to meet the needs of people who in society would have been ostracized. Today's gospel about the healing of the leper reminds me so much of what we've done at Pré-Signé. Our sisters went to Pré-Signé because the diocese didn't know what to do with the seminary. The seminary was closing, and they needed someone to take care of children who had been ostracized. When the new facility was opened in 2018, in the very fine print, the Marianites disclosed to myself and Sister Stephanie one afternoon, oh, the old buildings all revert back to the Marianites. So we had a little over 200,000 square feet of buildings that were at that point abandoned. You see the slide with the children singing. In 2022, the Musical Academy that right now is in a former Carmelite monastery will move to Pré-Signé, to all of the old buildings, and it will serve, again, children, right now only boys, but the future is promising for girls, who don't fit into the normal realm of kindergarten through 8th grade classroom. They are musicians. They must be able to sing, and they must be able to play 2 instruments to be accepted into the Music Academy. And the Academy has outgrown it's what Liesse can provide for them. So in 2019, the Marianites gave the buildings to the Music Academy, that children from around Europe would be able to participate in a school that serves children who do not fit into the ordinary learning experience. And then finally, Our Lady of Holy Cross College, founded in 1916 in New Orleans on the grounds of the Academy of Holy Angels, was really founded so that our sisters who did not have a college degree could continue to teach and allow the Academy of Holy Angels, our high school, to grow. For many years in Louisiana, the Marianites were known as the Sisters along Highway 190. In every small town that was not being served with a Catholic school, we needed a facility that would train us and allowed us to be degreed. That small, then the Holy Angels normal school, which what trained them to get their degree, has grown into the University of Holy Cross. And we'll talk about that just a little bit. In all 3 instances, we are reaching out to people who are underserved, people who are not part of, who do not fit into what we would consider the normal society.
Yeah, so, really within Catholic social teaching, as we talk about a preferential option for the poor, your outreach is for even beyond just the poor, clearly. And that's why that language, I think, was so striking to me. The use of the word confronting exclusion in all its forms. Very inspirational, Sister. Thank you. We've talked a little bit about the international session in Le Mans, and many of us, I know certainly colleagues of mine at St. Edward's University, have had a chance to take the journey to Holy Cross, as have those representatives from many of our Holy Cross institutions. For me, the privilege came in 2007, and it was life-changing. I think any of us that have been would acknowledge. For me, it grounded me much more deeply into my life, my purpose, vocation as a Holy Cross educator. And so would you tell us a little bit about this international session? It's just a remarkable gift to the church. It's a gift to Holy Cross. And certainly the Marianites have been behind all of that for so many years.
The international session began back in the 1980s when the Marianites realized that the gift that we have at the property that we call the solitude needed to be shared beyond the Marianites with all of the family of Holy Cross. And so it began very small. There were no bus tours as we have today, no visiting the sites. Basically, we began learning the history. But when we created this slide, two of the sisters that I showed the slides to said, why not show a picture of all of the people that have been to the international session? And I think two of the things that stand out at the international session are, one, that we get the opportunity to attend Mass in the chapel where Father Morrow so often celebrated liturgy. The tabernacle is the tabernacle. If you've done any reading on Father Morrow, he would often knock on the tabernacle door and ask, Jesus, are you sure you're still there? I have to say, when I'm in France, Stephanie laughs when I tap on the door and say, Jesus, are you still there? The crucifix, again, to have the opportunity to be in that place. And then the picture on the right is one of our sisters. To me, she captures what it is to hold Father Morrow's chalice in your hands, and usually, not usually, but always during the international session, while we are at Holy Cross Church in Le Mans, we do have Mass at the foot of Father Morrow's tomb, and each of the participants is invited during the liturgy to drink from the cup, to hold that sacred vessel. That's just a tiny, tiny part of what a visit to our roots is all about. The grounds of the solitude, where he actually wrote the Constitution, still a very sacred place. Today, we've expanded the international session so that we actually visit Father Morrow's birthplace, Mother Mary's birthplace, the home where Father Sorin grew up. We visit, well, the Holy Cross Church is one day in itself because it holds so much. It's not only what Father Morrow built, but also where he resigned, and we have the opportunity to actually be in the small chapel where Father Morrow resigned. I think the experience of going to one's roots grounds us, not only in who Father Morrow and those first priest brothers and sisters were, but it challenges us to be Holy Cross for the future.
Remarkable experience, Sister. And, of course, the trip this past year was canceled due to COVID-19, and this coming summer as well won't be able to take place. And so what do you see for the future, a post-COVID-19 world?
One of the things that we are actively talking about is a virtual experience of the international session. As we, the Marianites, look at legacy, we believe that the international session can live on far, far beyond us. And so we are really beginning the study of how we could do a virtual international session, very much like we're doing today, but actually at the sites that have become part of the international session, to give anyone, anywhere, the experience of being in Le Mans. At the same time, we hope that there will always be a portion of the solitude where the extended family of Holy Cross, certainly our lay collaborators, would have the opportunity to walk those grounds, visit the chapel, have the experience of liturgy with that chalice. There is nothing that can take its place.
Thank you, Sister. But what a wonderful idea, you know, the reach and impact of a virtual session could go beyond the limitations of travel and the expenses associated with that, and really help to get the good word message out of what it is that we do in Holy Cross and what it is that you do, have done with Marianites. We mentioned quickly the University of Holy Cross. Again, another inspirational place of higher education that bears the name Holy Cross, continues to do good work. A group of the school presidents, we had a chance to visit the University of Holy Cross last February, just before COVID, and wonderful programs. And I don't know if the president of the University of Holy Cross was able to join us tonight. He has been on some of the other calls, but I wonder if you might take an opportunity to share with us a little bit more about some of the programs, the leadership, and what you see in the future for the University of Holy Cross.
Well, I think everybody knows that for us in 2005, there was Katrina. The University of Holy Cross actually became one of the sites, because it was on the West Bank where there was no flooding, where we truly, the United States held much of the operations using the university. We were never really sure after Katrina in those initial days who would come back. I would say since Katrina, the university has grown so very, very much. And in these last years, especially during COVID, two of the programs that have been most significant has been our counseling program. It's grown to be able to invite people to both a master's program and a PhD in counseling. We have participants from around the United States. And at the last board meeting, we heard 5 students, 5 international students. The other program that truly has been significant in these COVID days has been our nursing program. For the last, many years, I would say the last 10 years, all of the graduates score in the top portion of nursing schools in the state of Louisiana. But more especially, our students are found on the lines in the hospitals in New Orleans. New Orleans, even today, continues to have a high rate of COVID. But I would say the future for the University of Holy Cross is about what we do best, and that's looking at the mission statement of the Marianites of Holy Cross. And while you are small, you can make an impact, and continuing to look out for those students who might not have a place in other big universities. We were recently in dialogue with a group of Muslim students at the university. And I said to one of them, "And why do y'all come here?" And she looked right at me and she said, "It's safe and it's accepting." And for me, that's what the University of Holy Cross is. It's safe, but it is accepting.
Sister, those who know the Marianites also know of your extraordinary hospitality and warmth, authenticity, fun, lots of fun. And you have such a beautiful spirituality. So, since we do have a few additional minutes, I wonder if you could share with us, if people are interested, they want to explore more, maybe deepen themselves. Of course, many of our schools today, most of our schools today serve a coeducational population. So we have girls and boys in our schools, but really the opportunity to learn more, explore more, perhaps even make a visit, do a retreat. Maybe if you could talk a few minutes about those opportunities.
Well, we would say, by all means, come. And up until this year, we would say, come to the Mardi Gras. That's not going to happen. And it's okay. It's another sign that life continues to go on. But many of our sisters are involved in retreat work. And so certainly there are numerous ways in which the Marianites can provide retreat work, retreats both virtually and in person in New Orleans. The new Congregational Center is very, very close to a Benedictine Abbey, which we work with very closely. There's a retreat house that can accommodate 35 people there. So if a faculty would want to come and experience the none other hospitality of the Benedictines and the Marianites, that is certainly available to you. The other thing is that while we are they're not our programs, we are very much involved in programs with the homeless and in feeding the homeless. And so there are numerous service opportunities to come to New Orleans to be in service and to experience Holy Cross. I would say to experience Holy Cross High School, it came back after Katrina in a new location. It's bigger, and it certainly is something to see, to experience. It is one of the larger boys' high schools in the Archdiocese today. So we would invite you to do all of that with us. But more especially if you're in town, we invite you to give us a call. The Congregational Center has the story of the Marianites in Louisiana, in who we are and what we've done, and a cup of coffee, a cold drink. We're always there for the family of Holy Cross.
Sister, thank you. And I believe you recently produced a video about that features the Congregational Center and shares that history of the Marianites in Louisiana. And so if people have a chance to visit your website, I'm sure that they can find the video there.
But
yeah,
we would say to all of y'all come.
Yeah. Sister, and I might also mention that there are some wonderful facilities on the campus at the University of Holy Cross for those that might be interested in bringing school groups or other groups. They have overnight accommodations. It certainly serves as a conference center as well, dormitory, but then as well, they do host, in a post-COVID world, we'll be able to host again student groups that may want to visit New Orleans and do service work there and ministry and retreats. So we really do encourage that. Sister, we have a couple of questions that I want to turn to that have come from the audience here. Do you know, is there any cause for canonization for the foundress of the Marianites as Mother Mary? Is that in a process currently?
That is not in process. And we do get that question every now and then. And our response to that, and I say this very lovingly of Mother Mary, we know where she is. She is in heaven. She is our saint.
Thank you. Thank you. And the next question asks, do you think that the three communities will become one again in the future?
My answer would be, we will never become one congregation. But as I said in the beginning, we will always beat with one heart. We have numerous programs that we do together. We share a lot, but just the reality of who we have become, the difference in Canada, South Bend, and Louisiana and France would make it very difficult today to become one. But there are different kinds of oneness, and oneness of heart is what the women of Holy Cross are about.
And I think it's worth mentioning as well, Sister, that we know that as a family of Holy Cross, the four superior generals meet pretty regularly. In fact, you just met recently, I believe.
Monday morning.
This past Monday morning. And so it's inspiring to all of us to know that the superior generals do work together, and we share this common history, these roots, this mission, and the gift of the church, the charism that each of the congregations have been given, that we all have an opportunity and responsibility to continue. It's just beautiful to know that the family of Holy Cross continues to work together. Would you take a chance to speak a little bit about what some of the work is that the family of Holy Cross has done in recent years?
Sure. I just want to share one experience. The four councils met in October of 2019, and we met in Canada. And one of the bus trips that we were invited to take was a bus trip to meet Mother Leonie's sisters. Mother Leonie was a Marianite in Canada who left to found her own congregation to take care of priests. So I would say to you with much humility that we got on the bus going, okay, now we're going to see the little sisters, let's go. But it ended up being on the bus a time for the four councils. We were invited not to sit with people we knew, but to sit with people we had not had the opportunity to spend time with. It was a cool October day, and Canada was in its full glory in oranges and bright colors. We arrived at the mother house of the sisters, the little sisters as they are known. And those sisters could not have embraced the family of Holy Cross. It was an experience of reconciliation, an experience of unity, an experience of saying, we make choices in life, but we all serve the church. They invited us to go on from their mother house to the Basilica, where they actually have their archives. And I don't think there was one of us in the group that was not touched by the fact that each of the four congregations have a significant place in the Basilica because of who the family of Holy Cross has been to these sisters. So that's one of the experiences that the four councils have had. I think one of the biggest things that we do together is the International Justice Office, which is housed in South Bend on the grounds of St. Mary's, but it is actually one member of each of the councils that forms the International Justice Board. And over the years, we have been able not only to speak loudly and boldly about the environment, about nonviolence, but to speak it not as one congregation, but as 4 congregations coming together. And some of the materials that the International Justice Office puts out is absolutely certainly available to all of you. But those are 2 things that I would highlight as what we do together. Certainly in countries where we are, priest brothers and sisters work together. Here in New Orleans, we miss the presence of the Holy Cross priests, but we have 1 Holy Cross priest, but we missed the presence of the brothers, and we hope that one day they will be back in New Orleans.
Yeah, fantastic, Sister. Thank you. And, you know, the beautiful imagery that you've painted since the opening of this webinar. You've spoken about the one heart, and you've used the word unity. And of course, Father Moreau spoke about unity. He said it's that great lever at which we can move and change and sanctify the whole world. Just such beautiful imagery. We have time for just a couple of additional questions. If people were interested in learning more, are there writings or letters of Mother Mary? And if so, where can they find them?
If you leave a message on the Marianite webpage, we can probably get those to you.
Fantastic. And I'm going to share that webpage here shortly. As well, someone asked about the Decade of Days. The assistant campus minister at Bishop McNamara came across the Decade of Days. Wondered if you could share a little bit about that.
The Decade of Days was actually begun by Sister Mary David. She died in December of 2020. She wanted the time between the death of Father Moreau and the death of Mother Mary to become a time of which the Marianites would pray about where was God calling them in the year to come. Over the years, we've expanded that Decade of Days to include all branches of the family of Holy Cross. Again, if you go to our website, the prayers for the Decade of Days, probably from 2012 through 2020, or right there on the website. Feel free to download them. Feel free to produce them in other languages, but more especially when you use the Decade of Days, pray for all of the family of Holy Cross, that we might continue to be all that Father Moreau and Mother Mary calls us to be today.
Amen to that. And we do have an additional question, and maybe we'll come to this in one of our future sessions. But for those that were able to attend the very first webinar that we did back in August, our keynote speaker then was Brother George Clawitter, and he shared with us a little bit about Brother Andre Matai and the impact that Brother Andre Matai had on the early foundings as really the leader, the person who helped to teach the brothers to be teachers and to start schools. But Brother Andre Matai sometimes is also credited for the idea of bringing the priests, the brothers, and the sisters together. And so it'd be interesting to dive into that a little bit further if time permitted. But do you have any thoughts real quick on that, Sister?
Actually, it was through the international session that I was introduced to Brother Andre Matai. Yes, he is definitely a significant figure in the priest brothers and sister being a family. And when I began, I spoke of the fact that Father Desjariers had mentioned that to Father Moreau. Was it Desjariers? Was it Matai? We go back and forth on that. But definitely, the brothers brought that to Father Moreau.
And I think suffice to say, as we've learned over the last 6 months of these webinars, there are so many heroic figures, unsung heroes, heroic figures in our history who, in their own humility, with their desire to serve the Lord and preach the gospel message, who worked sacrificially to continue to carry on this message and mission. And Sister, we can't begin to thank you enough for what has been a spectacular evening, so heartening. And your leadership, I'm truly grateful for the leadership and support that you give to the Holy Cross Institute at St. Edward's University. Sister Ann serves currently on our strategic planning committee. as the Holy Cross Institute now plans for our future, and what resources and programs that we can develop to support the greater family of Holy Cross, the schools community, particularly on Holy Cross. So sister, thank you again for taking the time, for being with us tonight. Really just such a joy. And if you could see the chat, as I'm seeing the chat now, there's a lot of people out there very grateful for the message that you delivered to us tonight. So we
Can I have one more word?
Absolutely.
One of Mother Mary's writings as she was preparing to die was, I would do the same thing all over again. I would say for both Mother Mary and for Father Moreau, they did what we need to do today to continue to have that faith and trust and do what we need to do.
And do it all over again. Thank you, sister. Thank you. And Denise, if you could just show the last couple of closing slides for us. We have a slide that we'll share with everyone. Of course, if you're interested in additional information about any of the ministries in the Congregation of Holy Cross, the Midwest Province of Brothers, the Moreau Province of Brothers, of course, there's the province of Priest and the U.S. Province of Priest and Brothers. Tremendous information on the congregational website for the Congregation of Holy Cross General Administration. Of course, you can see there in the middle, the General Administration, the Marianite Sisters of Holy Cross, Marianites.org. As well, there's lots of great writings on some of the things that we've featured and talked about tonight at the Holy Cross History Association. For those of you that are St. Edward's University alumni, you have information available to you through the Alumni Association. And then, of course, there's information available through the Vocations Office. And of course, last but not least, we can direct you to the St. Edward's University Holy Cross Institute at St. Edward's University website as well, where we are continuing to upload, even by the day, more and more of these resources and links to further information. Also want to point your attention to next month's webinar, which is planned, ask you to mark your calendars, February 25th at 5:30 p.m. We know that that is happy hour time, as tonight was as well. That also happens to be homecoming week at St. Edward's University. And so we will feature 3 Holy Cross brothers who did their studies and worked at St. Edward's University, who will talk more about the legacy of Holy Cross and its connection with St. Edward's. So we will welcome Brother Larry Atkinson. We welcome back Brother George Clawwitter and Brother John Page. As well, we would invite you to please mark your calendars for the Holy Cross Institute Convocation, which this year will take place over a 4-day period of time, April 15th through the 18th. It will be offered completely virtually and will be free for all attendees. We have programming throughout, including Holy Cross spirituality, history, pedagogy, best practices being utilized in our schools. There will be a full day focus on racial justice, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And the concluding day will focus in a very hopeful message on church leadership for the future. We also want to remind our schools community that are on tonight's call that the prayer book submissions are due February the 1st. So I'll send out an email to the schools community to remind you of that. But as we are developing the first Holy Cross prayer book with submissions from our students in the K-12 community, as well as faculty and staff members. As well, the Holy Cross Associates, they sponsor their annual essay contest. Wanted to let us know that the deadline for that has been extended to March the 1st. So again, the schools community that are working on that, you know that that deadline now has been extended. And then some of the additional programs that the Holy Cross Institute at St. Edward's University is planning for this summer is the annual conference for student leaders, HCC4SL as we call it, Holy Cross Conference for Student Leaders. We're also in the process of developing a Holy Cross Leadership Academy for new and aspiring leaders in the world of our Holy Cross schools. And we're really very excited to offer in a partnership with the Center for Teaching Excellence at St. Edward's University, as well as the 8 colleges and universities that bear the name of Holy Cross in the United States. We'll be hosting the inaugural Anti-Racism Teaching Symposium on August 12th and 13th. So there'll be more information forthcoming about all of these things. Stay tuned. And then last but not least, next slide. wanted to share this quote with you from Blessed Basil Moreau, who, as we know, Holy Cross and the work that the sisters and the brothers and the priests did, especially in post-Revolutionary War France, was to bring about hope, to liberate, to free people from the ignorance of darkness, to use education as a work of resurrection. And this beautiful quote is such a great reminder to us today as we deal with all of the many, many challenges that we face in this country and in this world. And so, as the stained glass window on the left reminds us, spes unica, let us remain disciples with hope to bring. May God bless you all, and thank you once again for your participation and for your support. And we invite you to send us any questions that you may have. Visit our website, and please, if you don't follow us on Facebook or Twitter, it's just a wonderful opportunity to remain engaged with the larger family of Holy Cross. You can follow us. You can see HC Institute SEU on both Facebook and Twitter. Okay. Thank you all, and know that you all are in my prayers in this new year. And as we say, let's continue to be disciples with hope to bring. May God bless you.
Bless you. Thank you.
Thanks, sister.
Go enjoy your wife.
Right.
Tell her happy birthday.
I will. Thank you.